Ladies and gentlemen, this is the next episode of the Cathode Ray Podcast. I'm here with my friend Steve Nutter, and today we will be dissecting, analyzing, and hopefully giving a fair and balanced look into the PixelFX trailer that was released last week for their new product, the Retro Gem. We're going to talk it down today, break it all down. Steve, my friend, how are you today?
Well, we're, usually I would say wonderful, Lewis, but I'm not going to say wonderful today. I'm going to change it up. It's been a bit of an odd, like, I feel like it's weird. There's been really odd things happening one day, and then, like, cool things happening, and then the next day, odd, strange things. So I don't know if we've fallen on a good or an odd day, but I feel like the PixelFX thing definitely was a contributor to the odd day on Friday.
It was an odd thing. So what we would like to do in this episode, we're going to have most of it. We're going to talk about this. We would like to break it down a little bit. Our intent here is not to dunk on the product or necessarily just dunk on the video. We want to discuss it. We respect the guys from PixelFX. Dan, Citrus PSI, has given us so many products. The whole PixelFX team has given us so many good products, so I wanted to put that out there. We are coming from a place of admiration for the products, but nevertheless, wow, let's talk about that.
Yeah, right. So, well, like you say, it's this is just a critique of this particular more or less advertising campaign and the release of this specific product. Because, like you say, I'm friends with Dan. I've met him and hung out with him a few times at conventions. Great. I go along with him.
Was that Dan in the video?
No, that's the other guy. I guess Hack is his name. I think that. See, it's been. I saw Dan at the last Retro World Expo, and we hung out, and that's where I saw him. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to get on here and bash him because I'll have to possibly see him like in 4 weeks from now. And that's not what the intention is, but we're definitely going to critique the heck out of a public advertisement campaign to launch an announcement for a product and kind of just break it down and give our points of view from our perspectives, which I think makes sense for this discussion today.
Sure. So what we'd like to do is the way we're going to structure this episode is if you've watched the PixelFX trailer, first of all, go watch it. We'll link it, of course. So go. It's a good product. Go and watch it. And we would like to break it down. The first half is the sketch, and the second half where Hacks, the gentleman, comes on and tells us about it, that's the second half. And we'd like to analyze those two separately because they're different kind of things. The first second half where Hacks is talking about it, this is like the business model. Maybe we're going to talk about the messaging. Is it simple, clear, and concise? Is it easy to understand? And then when we've talked a little bit about the technical, a little bit about the business model, that half, then what I'd like to do is go back and look at the sketch. And I'd like to analyze it from a comedy angle. So myself, my job, I am a talent manager for a group of crazy stand-up comedians. I have been doing this for over a decade. It is my job to help young artists along their artistic career and to give them feedback and to talk about what they're doing, how they're perceived, how they can go. So this is literally my wheelhouse. So I'm going to, again, try to give the most fair feedback I can, but I don't know about business models. I'm only going to give you some crappy opinions. But when it comes to analyzing comedy, this is what I do know about, which is why. And if you don't like my opinions, that's also okay. I feel that I can justify what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't mind if you don't like what I'm saying, because I'm going to try and justify it. Just be like, that's.
Well, there's always going to be somebody that actually does catch the messaging and it relates to them. Just in the way things are, right? There's always going to be somebody that says, "Oh, I actually liked that," right? A lot or something. Yep. And that's cool. Lewis has a unique expertise. I really wanted him to look at it from that comedic perspective. And at the same rate, like I've been in marketing for the last, 13 years or something, as far as the internet and things. With my past business I owned before even Retro Tech was even a thought in my head, so it's not, I can bring some, that's the kind of the perspective too that I would talk about on almost, promotional stuff too. So,
sure. Just wait a second, Steve, to break us for a moment. Can you hear the slight crackling in your microphone?
I cannot.
I feel sometimes when the thing rattles.
Yeah.
No, just rattle your cables a little
Okay.
bit. Just
Here.
sometimes. No. Okay. No.
Are you hearing anything?
No. Now it's good.
Okay.
No, maybe I could hear. I wasn't sure if it's. I don't think it's clipping.
Okay.
I felt like.
Well,
a
see, it looks like it's
rather
getting
than
close to the clipping level now.
Okay, maybe bring it down a little. I think down is okay. When I edit it, I just pump it up, and there's not usually a problem with the audio.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll try not to hit the table or anything too. It might have been, maybe I shook it a little bit, but yeah, that's possible.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All right.
Let me just turn my volume back up so now I can hear you again. I've made a little note of such things. Do this one so I know where it is. Yeah.
All right.
Good. We're doing it. So let's go. So let's start from the start. We've got this product, the Retro Gem. Is Gem an acronym? Does it stand for something?
I don't know. That's again with the unclarity of this whole launch. I'm not sure what is it supposed to stand for something.
Sure. So I think the core of once the product, I think we agree, Steve, that once you understand the core of the product, it's pretty good. It sounds great.
Right.
Like if we just sort of take rid of all the fluff, all the crap, all the marketing, all that, it's a good product. What do you feel?
Sure. And I'm not as tied to a product like this personally. I'm going to be completely honest because this is something that I'm just not. I'm into CRTs and analog video, so this is not really a thing I would be buying anyway. Personally, this particular product. I've bought plenty of other products for different situations from Dan and the whole company for years, and so I do not have any question about the quality. I know the guys are working there and developing the products. It's just from my perspective, when I saw the teaser and stuff, I had no idea what they were coming out with. I was expecting a different product than this to possibly be announced, to be honest with you. So when I finally figured out what it was like, okay, I understand. It's going to do what it promises, I'm sure. Right. And it's going to be great. I believe.
Because the PixelFX they're the ones who are also promising the Morph and the Infinity Switch. They've got their scalar products as well that apparently in work. And my take was the situation, they'd be talking about this Morph, talking about this Infinity Switch, but we hadn't really heard about this before. And everyone was expecting, it's going to be Infinity Switch, it's going to be something external, but now it's this internal mod. Is that your take?
Yes, that was my take first. First, I was, even just take it out, would not get into the depths, obviously, of the marketing. When the announcements and the teasers, I felt like it was going to be something where it's going to be full of some kind of information. And then instead, it was more of just this is a thing that does this, kind of. But it was, again, very vague. If I didn't know what PixelFX was selling, I would not be clear on really what was happening in the commercial. But even though I do know what it is, and for me, I was hoping it would be something on the Morph or the Infinity Switch. Like you said, that was the last thing I had kind of seen from Dan, was prototypes of that a year ago. And I know how things are, and it takes time. And he talked about running into troubles with designs and quality testing. Because the interesting thing about that Switch was it was modular. So you could pick your own modules, but when you do that, you have to make sure things like the modules go together well, and they don't just break apart and fall apart because maybe of a little, design on that end that has nothing to do with the functionality of it, right? It's just practical use of people putting these things together like Legos. So there's a lot of things like that would go into a product but that's what I was hoping to hear more on. And so at the end I was like, oh yeah, okay. Kind of, for me, it was a letdown because it's not a product that it's on my radar normally.
Sure. So if we could say broadly, it sounds like the product will do what it says. That's very nice. there's two then things to get into in the second half: the marketing message and then the business model that they're choosing, or the sales model, you might say, where some of it is there's some capabilities which you can get for a certain price, and then some capabilities that can be accessed via software for an upgraded fee. And I think there's a tricky balance here. And Bob released the Retro Roundup this week, and I think he discusses it very eloquently, that we see the need that PixelFX is going for. Yes, we want to support creators. So they've got the PixelFX, you can pay $99 or is it $120, whatever, and get a smaller feature set, or you can pay $190 and get the full feature set, the full thing. And it does seem that while hold on, fuck again, I'm gonna take this is someone's spam calling me for the third time. Hello, Lewis speaking. No, sorry, what? This is not Alexander. No. Oh yeah, we're doing these ones. Jesus fuck, 3 times. He's got like, is this Alexander?
This
I'm
is
like,
not
no,
Alexander.
He's not Alexander. He's like, do you speak Russian? No, I don't. And then just silence and like, too bad, goodbye.
Hey.
And that was it.
So,
Like,
killing your vibe here.
They are killing
Killing
my
your
vibe. I'll
flow.
make a note of that. Killing my flow. Yeah, I usually don't answer phone calls, but it was like 3
Good
times
grief.
from 3 separate numbers in succession. So, all right. So, look, we understand. So, and it seems to be on the lower end. They are planning for the future, implied that they're planning for an external scaler. So if you only want straight out, if you just need the digital out of your console, then you can go for the cheaper version. And we've spoken about this. I think I was also speaking about this with Conrad Beckman, or when I did he's the N64 hacker who made the hacker version of the digital out for HDMI out for N64. And we spoke in that podcast that we both believe the future is simple, easy HDMI outs for your console, and then having a separate scaler that does all the heavy lifting. That's where we're heading, but we're not quite there yet. And I was saying that I think solutions like Conrad's are great because it's a hack together HDMI solution that you could do for about, I don't know, $20, $30 or something like that. And then buy your Tink 20K or whatever it is, or buy your Morph or whatever the other ones are. So you see where they're going with that. And we want to also protect the financial interests of creators like PixelFX. So, okay, these guys are doing a great job. This is a technical product. We also want to reward them and make sure that they are getting adequate financial compensation for the work they're doing. I think what we're coming across, though, is as a community, and I'd broadly say as a society, we're still not sure what to do with software upgrade solutions. So a more extreme example is, I think it was Mercedes-Benz or BMW. They said, we're going to, for $20 a month subscription, you can have heated seats. And this is a very extreme example because it's a subscription model, but then the hardware's already in the car, and I've got to pay for something that's already physically in the car. And we haven't worked this out, I think, as a society yet, how we feel about this sort of business model. Now, in fairness to PixelFX, there's been a lot of disinformation out there. It's not quite DRM, the upgrade, because as is explained by Bob, when you do the upgrade, it's done. It's done. There's no subscription. There's no checking on the internet. As much as it seems like the chip is flashed to now be full 100%. So there's not a concern that what happens when PixelFX falls off the face of the earth in a year's time, that will I ever be able to get access? It's done. And anytime, and okay, that's a nice thing, because the reason we have subscription models to software services is because if the key gets leaked or somehow it gets hacked or the piracy or something like this, then they can use that online check to invalidate that key. So then it becomes, well, what happens if someone leaks a PixelFX gem key onto the forums, and then all of a sudden we're all getting free upgrades. I don't know what cryptography and other solutions PixelFX have worked in. So they've said, once it's locked, it's locked. It's not a DRM, which is very important to understand. So this is one way that they are trying to protect their own interest. What's your feeling about their business model, Steve?
Well, I don't have an issue with people offering different levels of products instead of just, say, one solution only. I'm a little bit confused about the offerings because at the beginning of this section of our discussion, you brought up an important point with Conrad that the idea is just to get a bare bones clean digital signal out of your console. And I feel like the best to this point, and maybe that's what's the difference here, has been 480p, right? Mm-hmm. And then just taking that signal and letting the device outside of the box, right, do all the work. Mm-hmm. So this upgrade is a little confusing to me on the point that, like, why am I really buying it, right? Because then, like you're saying, then I'm taking that functionality and I'm putting it back into the console, right? I'm relying on the console to do a lot of the scaling features. And if I already, like you say, own a RetroTink, I'm not going to scale it on this end and then double scale it. That's not really beneficial usually, right? You don't want to, like...
I think I hear what you mean, although maybe in the defense of PixelFX, we're in a bit of a weird transitory period right now because this utopia that I spoke of, where the console is going to do a easy clean out and then the scaler does the heavy lifting, we're not quite there yet. The TIG 4K, which accepts HDMI input, is not on the market yet. The Morph, I believe that's their scaling product, is not. There isn't a HDMI-In, I think besides the FrameMeister, ironically, there isn't a good upscaling solution available now in 1 year when Mike can get the 4K out. Maybe that's completely different. So maybe the 720 is a bit of an in-between for now. I don't know, to give them benefit of the doubt.
That's true. That's what I tried to kind of say. I don't really know. And and we all know the fallbacks of the FrameMeister. Even if anybody's laughing about having a FrameMeister with this thing, you can wait till you set up a color palette and then play a game that switches between 240p and 480i a couple times with your FrameMeister plugged up, and you won't care about. You'll be pissing on your FrameMeister again. So but again, like you say, it's an odd period. I think that the reasoning. Maybe that's the upsell now, is to say, well, you go ahead and get all that now that we have available with your upgrade now. And then maybe it is better to take a 1080p signal and put it through whatever the next device is, like you say, that could be the RetroTink 4K, or strictly, like if you're like me, I don't even own a 4K display. So you still use just 1080p, then you don't have that issue at all. But it's definitely an interesting thing. I don't really see a problem with it. I didn't connect the dots as hardcore as some people would have, like with the BMW analogy, because that BMW analogy kind of makes like me sick, right? That's like absolutely. A disgusting, that's an extreme example. Idea to sell. And it would be like, again, selling something and then locking out modes of it. But that's not the first time we've seen this. Here's a great example right here on my tool shelf is this Wriggle oscilloscope. When you buy it, it's in a locked out mode. And for you to get it in the unlocked mode, you're supposed to pay like $200 more. But all everybody does is go gets a software key and unlocks it themselves from a foreign website. And it's kind of like an understood thing that everybody does to unlock it. But they're doing the same thing where it's like a $250 entry point. and then you got to pay things, right? It's kind of the same thing. It's just, yeah, that's kind of the idea. I don't see really a problem with it as much as some people obviously did. So I understand doing it, but
I think there's a lot of human psychology here, and this subscription stuff is deep human psychology about what we perceive to own. I own it, but why can't I use it? And what is the perception of the value of what's being sold to me? And I think I wouldn't so much have been talking to a marketing person. I would have been talking to a psychologist to try to get this message across. But anyway, what are you going to say, Steve?
You are getting into the psychology there of the thoughts, again, of owning a product, but do you really own it? Does this kind of contribute to that kind of mentality where it's like, well, you paid for this, but you can't really do anything with this level of it? It's not all the way to the most extreme, but it has fallen now within that category fairly enough by the way it's presented as being the same kind of product. I think Bob made a wonderful point that if there was some kind of mostly hardware difference here, this would have if there was a different piece of hardware involved, no one would have even probably connected those dots, and they would have looked kind of tinfoil hat, right? If they did, if it's like, well, that thing is a different chip, right?
Sure, yeah. But if you do that, I'll present you, Steve, with a thought experiment for you and for people listening. Because if they did that, then the problem is, if I wanted to upgrade, I then need to replace the whole thing. Now, how many people are going to upgrade? Is that an option? I'm not sure. Here's a thought experiment for everyone. What if PixelFX instead had said, here's the baseboard, here's the PCB. The upgrade is not actually, it's software, but you actually have to insert a new chip. Like they put little headers on there. And let's say it wasn't even too hard, but I had to buy another physical chip, and that had to be inserted at the top. And let's say it's not solder, it's pretty easy. You could do it yourself, so you don't have to send it off to Voltaire again. And that is only a few steps beyond what they've already done. Do you think that would change the perception because I've got something in my hand?
I think it would change the perception, but I feel like there's probably so much cost involved with adding a socket just physically that it's almost considered in nowadays kind of a waste of money when you're at the business table and you're launching the product, is what I would think. I'm not saying that somebody didn't come to the forward and say this. Again, I feel like this is on such a far end of that spectrum. It's like questionable that it's entered into this realm of subscription-based almost thing, because it's a one-time, like you said, fee. It's just all this is kind of a combination effect of this teaser, weird marketing campaign, plus the release of this kind of complex pricing model where you watch this and you think you might have a solution for under $100, right? Yet you get on there and it's like, well, it's not really $100 because understandably you need wiring kits and everything to wire with the chip, but it's teased in a way like you get away with no one's getting away with really a $99 purchase, right? That's not.
I wonder what, it would be interesting to know, what are the use cases for this chip without a flex cable? Are there a genuine question? Who's buying it for just $99? I don't know. I don't know technically the product, but okay, so there's a little bit of the marketing. That bit, another bit, feels deceptive. So maybe what we're building up to here, Steve, is that there's a lot of little things. There's no one of these things that makes you feel like, that's terrible. That's the most stupid thing ever. But a lot, again, 20% extra. Then later on we find out about the kind of software lock. And these kind of things add up, even though each one of them has genuine intentions along the way.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's from a marketing standpoint, it's kind of an unclear message has been presented, and it leaves the audience questioning, really, again, what exactly is there's not enough clarity really in much of any of it. I felt like when I was watching, I had to watch it a couple times to understand it. The way it was put together, and then the way the products were named was almost, I get it, but at the same time, when it's such a goofy approach coming up to that, it almost feels like that might be goofy. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're watching a Saturday Night Live skit and you're trying to catch the joke, and it's like, what? And you're just not getting it. And then, you know, so it's, and then like you say, then you get to the pricing, and it's like, these are the things, and it's the price there. And then there's the upgrade price. And then the upgrade does this. And again, if I didn't really know what they were talking about in depth, there was no like broad description of this product. You know, I can offer, I thought the greatest alternative to what this would have been anything like, you don't even have to pay for it. You send a kit like this to Tito from Macho Nacho, and he'll make a video that'll get 200,000 views that you don't even spend any money on, right? And I was like, he would have broken it down and done all this stuff, explained it such a clearer way. And I just like watching it over and over. It just made me scratch my head each more time. Every next time I watched it, I literally watched it 3 or 4 times this weekend to try to see what I was missing, what was the intent, what was the message, and I still, like you say, it's unclear.
It doesn't seem simple, clear, and concise, the message. You have to... I think also they missed an opportunity with the samples. They're showing us, this is great. Hey, this looks lovely. But even there was some... no side-by-sides. Show me something. I'm like, hey, this is great. Looks nice, but what's my reference point? So some sort of comparisons, and I think even... They could have, if you're talking about what are you, it's PS2, what do you compare it against? Could be component input, or could be, you just maybe needed to have, they only had soft interpolation examples. You could have had Pixel Perfect and soft, and just compared it the same thing. You don't have to compare it to anything else. Be like, whatever, some other solution is stupid. Just be like, here's our soft example, here's our Pixel Perfect example. And even, I think the brain wants something to compare to. So I think they missed an opportunity with that. And also, now we'll start to get into a little bit more opinionated stuff, I think. Now I've got my opinions on the second half. I don't like the art style of the whole video. I think the whole art style misses the point. I think it's ugly. Like, just straight up. I think that style is there. Some of the bits... So I'll go over a few of the points that I had. Hack, when he's standing there, he's got a glow around his head, like pictures of Jesus.
Well, yeah, and like before you go off crazy, just thinking about what you said on the I wanted to mention one thing before. It's just about the last thing that you had mentioned about no comparison shots and them missing the chance there. You watch a video like this that is so obviously heavily edited. It's like somebody spent an ungodly amount of time, to me, or they're just a master at Premiere that edited this video, and then you're going to try to tell me that they didn't splice in video footage and not clean that shit up either? Like you said, I was like, why are you even showing me this picture? Because at this point, I know when I edit video, I turn the brightness down. I'm recording a freaking CRT, so I have to return the brightness down and stuff. And like, that's what I felt. I was like, this is just like video. This is like when I watched the infomercial about the freaking rotisserie oven, and the guy pulls out a juicy looking rotisserie chicken, and everybody's like, "Ooh!" And like, what the heck did you think this was gonna do? It's been sitting there. This is their big money shot. Of course it's going to look juicy. So
it's the burger, the
yeah,
McDonald's burger that always looks perfect.
So
in
anyway,
the ad.
let's get on now to the more intriguing parts. Like you said, opinions of this.
Sure.
And you just thought it was ugly.
Oh, also, yeah. So that's just a personal opinion. The art style I don't like. Okay, that was weird. Let's say the glow around the gentleman's head. I didn't know where they were going with that. What that meant. There's a general when he starts one of the discussions. There's a weird fade in. It fades in too late. He's already talking and it's fading in, and it sounds. We've already had this very jarring sketch, which we're going to get to. We're left feeling what the actual hell just went on. And then there's this weird fade in on his voice, and it really stands out. And now if I'm really going to pick into the words, twice the gentleman says, so he says, speaking of consoles, I know why you're here. And there's a second line, a few sentences later, says, I know what you want, true gameplay, something like that. Both times when he says, I know why you are here and I know what you want, because I've been quite confused and disoriented by the video up until this point. That also felt jarring. You presume to know what I want. You presume to tell me what I want. And I found
I really love that. I didn't catch that, but that is a great thing because let's be honest, up to this point, this is about probably 3-4 minutes into this video.
Yep.
And you're like questioning everything. I mean, that's again, it's so unclear. You're questioning everything that you're watching up to this point, saying what is going on. And then, like you say, somebody says twice they know what you want and they know why you're here. You're like, mother fricker, I don't even know what I want anymore. I don't know why I'm here. And you know? How do you know? So that's a great.
You have not demonstrated that to me. You have not.
So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even catch on that, and I watched the thing 4 times. I missed it.
So that's my thought on the back end. Overall, look, that's the fine part. Overall, okay, he told us the stuff. We can watch it a couple times, get the point. Okay, it's nice that the gentleman says and talks to us directly. Very nice. There's a personal connection there. So
yeah, I'll second a lot of things you said. I felt like for what it was like heavily overdone on like an edit for like way beyond really what was necessary. And to the point where it's distracting. It's another thing that adds a distraction level. To me, it does. There's so much, like you said, like I'm watching just the teasers, and you got like twirling triangles going around behind, and you're like, so if you're a doofus like me, you easily get distracted by the twirling triangle floating in the background, and then you're like, wait a second, what happened? What were they saying? And you missed it, and then you're like, oh, but it was very chaotic. I felt like too, and I mean, I hate to tear people up, but this is what they do. This is like, you're getting paid to do this. It's just a real critique of your work. I throw things out there. People critique it every time in my comment section. I don't care.
Because we're not saying
no.
at it. We're not saying you don't know how to use Premiere. It's your artistic
like,
choices.
Yeah, we're just saying our feedback, as you will say. And I felt like another chaotic thing was the audio mixing on it. And I feel like there's an art to adding too much. Again, like there's people in Hollywood that still get away with terrible sound editing to the point where, what was it, one movie? I mean, it's a guy who did Oppenheimer. I could barely hear I didn't see Oppenheimer, but I did watch Tenet. We've talked about that movie. There's a lot of times where there's dialogue going on and it's like this cringing, like loud music getting louder. And you're like, is it just supposed to drown out this conversation? I thought I wanted to hear what they were saying, but apparently it's not important. So, the more aware you are of things like that, it kind of, like you're like, what is he saying at that point? What exactly? I didn't exactly catch that moment. Was I supposed to catch what he said? Because I couldn't hear it at that second. So just another element of critiquing of what I thought of the actual elements there.
So I'll tell you what. So we're about halfway through the podcast now. Let's keep having fun. We wanted to be I be direct. I wanted to be more fair and balanced when we're talking about the content, when we're talking about the product, and I hope that we were. Now, we're going to be talking about the sketch. This is pure art because as much as I can tell, there isn't like real product message in there. It's a sketch. My friend Dr. Wham sitting across from me here loves to do a sketch in his video. We know that sketches are a great way to add a bit of fun and excitement to what can be a boring topic or dry topic, let's say, of retro gaming. So I'm going to bring up, I've got the PixelFX I got here. So how can I...
Just let it load up.
I'm going to bring a shared screen up.
It's fine. You could take your time.
Let's play a little bit, and if you're listening on the audio, I will include this in the edit. I'm very sorry that we're going to watch a bit of the video here, but I think it's important to watch it and then discuss it so it's not so. So we're going to play, I think, the first little bit here. So let's go on PixelFX. This is nice. Okay, we're opening up. Now,
yeah,
see,
it
again,
probably will.
Silence. This is silence on this end. Loading. What is this? Okay. It's dead silence. And now there's this catchy background music, but it's still like, what is this?
And like this opening screen, I'm trying to figure out what it says and like what's going on here, right? This like choose a demo.
Is it Xbox? Is he showing an original Xbox? What is this?
And then it goes in with the crazy logo where it says DIF pops up, right?
Right, what the fuck is that? Find your inner resolution. So we don't have answers yet. This is still quite confusing. And this takes quite a while. We're 60 seconds. Okay, now we're at 1 minute. We're loading.
And let's remember, this was premiered. Hang on. This was premiered on YouTube. So before this, everybody's sitting there waiting. And then they're waiting, and then they put it on a 2-minute countdown for you, which I hate about Premiere. I wish they'd just say no countdown possible. And they do that whole 2 minutes of it's counting down, and then you get two more minutes.
So, Digital Infidelity. Now, in this moment, we're all a bit confused, but the first thing we can ascertain is, I guess they're doing some sort of sketch impersonating something like this, Digital Foundry.
Yes. Or if you're like me and you barely catch a view of it, you think for a second Digital Foundry is somehow possibly a part of this.
Involved.
And that they're about to say something possibly important about it, right? Like, okay.
Sure.
So go...
Is any moment, right? Is John Lindemann going to pop up? Is Rich going to pop up any moment? And that's okay. So they're well known. Now, the first bit, I would say, so if we are at 1 minute and 7 seconds. We are at 67 seconds into this video, and we still don't know what the hell is happening here. We're desperately guessing what's going on. Now, they do say PixelFX video production, so they don't sort of say satire, which maybe would have helped. The first big thing that I draw an issue with is they're looking to satirize Digital Foundry, and they call it Digital Infidelity. And this is where I come in. Infidelity is a negative word in the English language. Infidelity, to my mind, usually means you're a married person who was being playing around, cheating, whatever. That's usually what infidelity means. It doesn't have a positive connotation. So when you say digital negative word that doesn't have positive connotations, I think, are you taking the piss out of
yeah,
it?
that's a very good point. Infidelity, there's not a single instance I can perceive of a use where you would think a positive thing had come using the word infidelity. It is not... Like you say, it is not it's like just a word that does not connotate anything positive.
So I started to think in my mind, do I not know about scandals? Is there been some John Lindemann scandal that I don't know about, Alex Batalia's, whatever. Is that? I'm like, are they mocking that? Are they? Is that? I don't know. I don't know. I've just heard digital infidelity. If I wanted to make a leap in English, I mean, there's infidel, which is like some sort of religious zealot. I
didn't.
So is that it?
Again, any iteration is not considered positively. I feel like more. It's definitely meant like the infidelity is the word, like infidelity again, like some type of deep cheating kind of. That's the word and the meaning, but.
So what a digital foundry that wrong. And that got me as well, because I felt, look, first of all, we've had John on the podcast. He's a buddy of ours. And we know John gets a lot of shit on the internet, which he definitely doesn't deserve. But then even further than that, then it's like, whose voice, in a moment when we hear, whose voice are they trying to satirize from Digital Foundry? Is it John or is it Rich Ledbetter? And the boss, the main guy. And and this is when I started to get really emotional, because no one can go at Rich Ledbetter, all right? Richard Ledbetter is a fucking legend of our retro gaming community. When I was a kid, we've talked about this, Steve, I was stealing the computer magazines, changing the prices, because I was a little Australian kid. We get the computer magazines 3 months late. They would be drastically overpriced. We couldn't afford them. So we would, not wanting to physically actually steal outright, we would change the price tags on the front of the magazine, like the old label, put a new one on. Instead of $12, it'd be $3. And then I'd buy it. And Rich Ledbetter was one of the original journalists. I'm also thinking of journalists like Julian Rignall from CVG. We grew up, Amiga Power these days. So Rich has been there from the beginning. And there's like, there's nothing, right? And I'm like, why are you going at these people who are like really solid? And so I've already got me.
Yeah. Well, I could give you the perspective too that I was sitting at this moment watching this unfold live. I was watching it as it premiered, and at this point, the live chat is just dropping. I mean, what is this? Cringe. This is awful. Is this what, it starts going, this next segment, and it's just like cringe fest. That's what I'm seeing in the live chat on there, and I was just like blown away, because like you say, we've discussed this before, and this was the first thing I thought of. I thought, is this supposed to be funny? And the first rule is this: is if you're going to come out and you're going to go after anybody at Digital Foundry, in my opinion, it better be damn funny. And you better. I mean, I would think you would want. I couldn't imagine them. Now, maybe they did, to be fair, give them their blessing to do this, but I doubt it. I doubt it. But
yeah.
Now, because now they get pulled immediately. They're pulled into this discussion without anything like, what does digital infidelity mean to you? And they're like, what the heck are you even talking about? Sounds like a, stupid, whatever.
John Lindemann sitting back in his German house eating his bratwurst, spitting it out. Like, what the fuck is this?
I know. I feel bad, too, because I was trying to, DM John about something else, and I'm sure he just doesn't even want to look in his inbox. I'm just like, oh, gosh, man, I'm going to be like, hey, what's up? Again, because I know he just doesn't want to look in there. And it's like getting roped into weird stuff like this where it almost... it's definitely like a weird way to, again, launch a product.
So we don't know. Okay, so then we're confused about the intent towards Digital Foundry. Now, you could have chosen other words. It could have been, I came off the top of my head, digital laundry. Yeah. I don't know. Digital whatever. Choose any word that's neutral rather than negative. And that might have also fit there. A few things when I look at the stylization, Digital Infidelity. Is it Digital Infidelity? Like, it's not clear on first looking that it's in, like, the L looks like a capital, so it's in Digital. Anyway, and diff. Is that like DILF? Like dad? Like
no, it would be more like Dad. I liked Lewis, not like to. See, there you go. What's the infidelity thing here?
Confusing.
It's too many questions.
We don't know. Now, if we have an example, now not to say we can't have these sort of funny back and forths in our community. So if we have, but there needs to be context. And we need to assume or hope that our audience broadly understands that context. And it's very different when it's coming from individuals than when it's coming from, this is now a company selling a big legit product. Because their whole thing is like, order as many as you want, we've got 1 million, go for it, meaning you're legit. So when Volta starts making accusations about Bob and various farmyard animals and relations that they might have had. Now, to me, that's different. There's a long-standing community. If you've ever watched the Twitter, you know we know where they've worked together before. Even if, and look, people still get confused. And also, they're two individuals. So we have some context for their relationship. Now, people can still get confused. I had, actually, this is a good one. You'll like this. I have a buddy here in Thailand who's also into retro games, and we hang out. And he came to me one day, and he's like, Lewis, who's this 8-bit Esquire guy? Because I was reading some tweets. He called you an idiot. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I was like, don't worry about him. It's Roger. It's all part of the fun, my friend. Good on him. I approve of that message. But there's an example. If you don't know, you don't know. It's so easy to not know about. If you're a company, it's now PixelFX, a company, versus Digital Foundry, another company.
Right.
And that's where the muddy gets watered.
Muddy gets watered. That's it. We got some muddy waters here. You're right. It's we're not even into this bit yet, which again, like, I'm going to let people roll through this bit, but they are literally, you can go ahead and start it. I'll tell you, the only word I could understand from this next part of the bit was PlayStation 2 and ass. He must have said ass and assy and ass like 3 times.
So I'm going to stop it there again. Right. Now, we're putting it into perspective. We're 1 minute 18 now into the video. We're unsure. We've heard the word infidelity. Like, where are they going with this? I did not know that Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal was a real title of a Ratchet & Clank game. I had to Google it. And in my defense, in Europe, it's Ratchet & Clank 3. It's not called Up Your Arsenal.
Yeah.
In Europe. I thought this was another spoof because they just said infidelity. So now I'm like, Up Your Arsenal. Yeah, okay, this sounds about on par.
Yes, exactly. What is happening here, right?
Right. A questionable choice of game to show. I thought this was another spoof. So it turns out this isn't a spoof. All right. So now they're playing the video.
Up Your Arsenal.
Okay, it looks...
And then they're like, oh, look at the ass. Or it's like, I guess it's supposed to be arse, like you said. Arsey. Looking arsey. It's arse. There's arse on his eyeglasses. There's ass. And it's like, what? And it's talking very fast. A lot of chaotic noise in it.
So the audio is very muted here, which makes it hard. The audio certainly doesn't pop out of the video. It's very muted. And then I'm like, is it spectacular ass reflection?
Says it.
Oh, it's
yeah,
specular. Spectacular ass reflection. No, specular ass reflection.
Yes, and it's words like that you don't really know what they're saying. They're presented so fast, right? And then you're like, what did it just say, huh? And again, this is a live premiere, so you're probably wanting to stay live while you're watching it.
Sure.
So really awesome
on.
tech. So as you can see, the fidelity
Honestly,
goes
really
from
awesome
amazing to super amazing. It's really unmatched.
The fidelity goes from amazing to super amazing. Okay, boss. So
Yeah.
we're starting to get the idea this is not a real analysis, but what is it? It's not still... He said PS2, but again, because I'm confused. I thought this was a bait-up game.
And my perspective up to this point, it's been really quick. If you didn't catch the digital infidelity up to this point, you're just hearing weird ass things. And you're thinking, I'm still under the perception that this might be somebody from Digital Foundry helping out until it just gets a little ridiculous. I'm like, oh, obviously this isn't. So, yeah, that was my perspective while this was live.
So the line was, so finally your favorite Twitter haters can be satisfied that when they say that it looks like a PS2 game, it is a PS2 game. So... I didn't get the reference.
Again, it's a lot of this.
I get
is
it.
Like you're like, is that a joke? Was that the joke? Was that the punchline? Oh, you kind of get the feeling that it's supposed to be a spoof, like you said a little bit, but it's not. It's not on that funny level that they think that maybe the guy thinks it is. I'm not sure.
Let's bring up some of the clarity.
Yeah, the footage looks good. I will say. Once I look back at it, I'm like, oh, that's actually really nice. Like this. Okay, technically, it looks good.
Eye and the one.
Yeah, so let's bring up a clarity chart. It bypasses Pixel Perfect. The one.
Yeah, this is going into stuff. Yeah,
like,
again, stuff that's like. You're like, oh, I guess that's supposed to be a joke. Huh?
That's the joke. Because at this stage, I'm like, show me Pixel Perfect, motherfucker. Like, I want to see. Don't stop making a joke. I do.
What are
I
we even talking about right
Show
here?
me a bit
Again,
of Pixel Perfect.
What's the pop?
Yeah.
What's the product at this point? It's still it's a completely at this point feels like a spoof of the Digital Foundry, FPS meter and performance meters and going through all that. Right now, you finally realizing it. I think.
So I'm looking at that thinking, okay, that's, as you said, obviously a spoof of the Digital Foundry FPS meter. And I'm searching for what is the thing about that they're spoofing. Like, because if it's a good thing, if they find a good point. So coming back to that golden rule of comedy, which is you can joke about any topic you want, but the harder the topic, the better the joke has to be. Or another way of wording that might be, the more sacred the cow, the better the joke has to be. Sacred
that's
cow,
a good way to put
terminology. The more we like that person, the better it has to be. So fine. Look, I'm not saying you can't make joke of Richard Ledbetter, right? But dang, you better be coming in hot with a real good reference that makes us go, you got Rich a good one there. Well, you got him a good one here. And I don't know. At this stage, I still think they're mocking Digital Foundry. And I'm like, why are we even... Like, why are we talking about Digital Foundry? This is a fucking PixelFX. Clip.
Yeah, so... At this point, a minute and a half into this ad, you're just thinking about Digital Foundry. And is this a spoof of Digital Foundry? Oh, it kind of is. Digital Infidelity. What? This isn't really that funny. Okay. And like I said, no wonder the chat at this point was just rolling on the, oh, this is awful. What is this? I can't believe this. Is this for real? And then, but like 1 out of 10 would be like, this is hilarious. So like I said, there's somebody who's always catching the message.
Right on.
And so there's different points of views everybody has on this stuff. But it's fair to mention that at this point, everybody's been waiting. This has been teased. And so far you're getting this.
Are we all just pixels on an infinite by infinite OLED screen with BFI? It's really crazy stuff.
Let's roll.
The fidelity of the Retro Champ also added a depth of realism, making some of these bad guys grotesque. See those little gremlins? Yeah, I know. Pretty spooky, right? Now let's take a second to load.
Look, where we hit the levels of Third Eye and the One, I'm like, what are you talking about at this stage? What is
right?
The one?
So I think that the third,
the
I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, third eye, I guess that's your pineal gland reference. So that's something weird that probably 9 out of 10 people don't even know about. And then the one.
Fuck, where'd my mouse go? Is it because? Wait. He said a line. And he said, oh, something, the fidelity of the screen. And now I'm like, Oh, is that what he meant by digital infidelity? Like, this a resolution has fidelity.
Yeah, and
Like,
so the resolution
the screen has high
itself
fidelity.
is it infidelity?
Right. So he's going in, and in as in the opposite of fidelity. So I think it's not infidel or infidelity.
But
it's
fidelity.
fidelity.
Why did they call it digital fidelity?
Digital fidelity.
I think there you go, Lewis. We literally solved the issue here. If they would have called it digital fidelity, it would have just gone off as a much better bad joke. And the whole thing might
digital
have fidelity. Better. So this is what we're calling digital feedback fidelity. 101. Free feedback that you have to normally pay focus groups tens of thousands of dollars for. We're offering that free on our podcast. So that's a good point, because I had still didn't get it. And again, now, yeah. Lewis, I want to say this right. I don't know if we haven't said it yet. I don't know if you're saving it. I don't want to forget it, but I asked you to make a to take AI and see if they could write a transcript of this portion. And what did you tell me they said?
I just pumped the whole thing. I just took the whole clip, like 12 minutes, and pumped it into the AI. The AI got confused, thought it was in Japanese, and said, I tried to ask it and say, hey, can you, it's got a little chat bot in there. I was like, can you please, do it again, but this is English. And he was like, nah, I don't understand. So I think that speaks to the poor editing quality. That it couldn't. Now, I was thinking if I had a bit more time, I might have just extracted out this, boosted the editing, boosted the audio, and run it back through. But we kind of ran out of time.
That's a bit ridiculous.
Look, I was surprised. I've never seen such a ridiculous result out of the AI translator before.
Yeah. Even AI was confused by this ad campaign. It's like, this is your first test of feeling like a human. Watch this ad and give us your feedback, AI. The human emotion of confusion.
So the next part, I think this is the green dot.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get that either. Like, green dot. And in that green dot... And
it's the sharpness part.
And then it said something about going to, Picard or something.
Yeah, so wait, before we get to that, there's a sharp... So now they're satirizing sharpness, and they're listing things that are also sharp.
See, I missed
syringes, broken glass.
Razor blades.
Or razor blades. So things that are sharp, so they're satirizing sharpness. This took me a while. I didn't get this bit either at first. So, and also, I think the difficulty is that when they say, oh, now this is one sharpness mode and this is the other sharpness mode, there's no difference on the screen. If they had visually sort of done more, and maybe even in satire, said, hey, here's
broken
one
glass,
mode,
you could have put a broken glass filter over the screen.
Maybe. The visuals did not reinforce the text, did not reinforce the joke, so it took me a while to get it.
I didn't even get it. I watched it, me and AI. We never caught any of this. We watched it 4 or 5 times.
Finally, I want to show you how insane the resolution is.
Okay, we see the AI, the menu a little bit. We go to 1440p. And, okay, first of all, he's like, they change resolutions and we get a black screen. Why are you showing us the black screen?
Yeah, and again, at this time, it's so satire. It's been... What does this mean?
Just edit this bit out, even if it is. Just edit this. Why are you showing us? And so this is the part, okay, it takes us a while to get the joke, but we believe the joke is that the 1440p is so precise that we can see minute details. That there's a section so precise, the upscaling is so good, there's a whole episode of Star Trek TNG in that one pixel.
I'm going to be completely honest with you here, Lewis. I am so against this idea of companies, any size, using copyrighted materials like even 2 or 3 seconds of a Star Trek clip for their advertising. That's the second time they've done it. They did it before in a tweet with an Urkel clip. And to me... if I hired a marketing company and they came to me with that, if I hired this guy as an independent marketing agency, said, make me a commercial, and he came to me with that, And I was just not even, let's ignore everything else we've been critical of. Everything was perfect to this point. I would make them take this part out no matter what. Because again, I do not want people to think, I mean, I've done it. I've been guilty of it in my videos, putting clips of things, but it's usually gameplay just as a demonstration. And we've talked about that section. That's not really the issue. We're talking about as a marketing campaign, taking other companies' assets and using them in your marketing campaign.
So the joke is that the 1440p is so clear that we could see insane resolutions, and the joke is that there's so much resolution there. Okay, look, the core of the joke, not bad. All right, we can go with that. But execution style. So Steve, you've said that you don't like seeing the copyrighted material there. If they were so committed to this joke that we want to show something, you could then maybe just have like a simple DIY animation. You could make your own little cartoony.
Go back to the arse joke.
I wouldn't.
At least if you're going to stay consistent, then it makes a little more sense. You're like, oh, they referenced to the bad arse joke earlier. That it's like you could really see the arse now,
yeah,
right? Instead, I mean,
okay, yeah. I think as well. All right, that's a good point. So then I was thinking, who do they satirize? Good point. Do they satirize us? What do they do? One of the reasons that I think that this whole thing doesn't land is because we think they're satirizing Digital Foundry, or are they satirizing that? And now they're having to go Captain Picard. Ooh. They don't satirize themselves. They don't make fun of themselves. And I do think that if you are unestablished, now if you're an established creator, established comedian, established artist, we know your style, we know your perspective, maybe we like you. When Voltar says some crazy things, we know that's Voltar. That's very much his character that's been built up. We don't know anything. PixelFX is very much a blank slate, and they need, I think, to poke fun at themselves before they poke fun at somebody else. And then later on, once we prove we've got a sense of humor about ourselves, then other jokes might land. What do you?
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because these are whole aspects of comedy that I just don't know about, didn't think about. And you're right. I'm sure it would have landed a lot better if you could. It's always better. The safest jokes are always to make fun of yourself, and especially if you really connect with them. And there was a lot of, up until this point, before they were doing the teasers, you hadn't seen anything from them for the most part on social media at all. And so that's again adding to the weirdness. You're exactly right. They started a fresh point. They started a fresh perspective. And I just don't know. Obviously, there's been issues with it.
So in this point of the video, we've just had the Star Trek joke. We're like, all right, okay. And then we get to another one of these weird audio mix issues, because there's the silence. Every time this loading screen, it's silence. And it's Captain Picard joke and then silence while the loading is happening. And it feels, to go straight to the silence, feels very jarring. If that was an amazing killer punchline and they just, bam, dropped it on us, I might go like, all right, that's a nice little mic drop. But we're left confused, and now there's this next period of a few seconds, even 5 seconds of silence. Let's keep going with the clip. It's silence, loading. It's still silence.
But it's
clip is buffering on me again. Okay, silence, buffering silence.
Back to this thing.
Back to the weird menu. We're back to being confused by the menu again.
And there's so many, like this menu right here has so much on it. The colors.
Back to silence again. The menu had music. Back to silence. I wouldn't like this in a game. Okay,
Yes.
and then we're up
Finally.
to hack.
What is our time right here?
Let me stop all.
No,
not on that.
So once we started, oh, right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It has felt like an hour up to this point if you waited for this premiere to happen live. Like an awkward hour. I'm going to give you my perspective on what I just sat through when I was live. It was like you walked into a room and you wanted to see something, and you totally saw something not only you weren't expecting, but it's something you didn't want to see, like your grandparents making out or something, like with tongue, and you're like, oh, it's that. It's like that feeling left in you, and that's where you're up to the point. So I'm like, holy crap, this guy's got the biggest, he just set himself up with like, that's like one of the worst introductions I've ever seen.
How are you going to save this? You dig
I feel
up,
like we're being
dig
so
up, as we say in
brutal
comedy.
again to this, but at the same time, if they were asking me my honest opinion as a friend, what I thought about this, I would have said I didn't like it.
It's the same thing. We are 3 minutes and
Oh my
47
gosh.
seconds at this stage of the video, and we don't know anything about the product. We've been thoroughly confused. Sketches can be used, but if you notice,
I've never done.
you have some sketches.
I've never
maybe at the
done a
start,
4 minute. I've never done. I've never done much. I don't think I've done over a 90-second sketch. I feel like
No.
if a sketch becomes too long, there you go. It's a video itself, pretty much.
Right. GameSack, they do famous for doing great sketches. First of all, they do release them separately. Second,
Right.
always at the end. The sketches are always some after trailer thing that I can like optionally choose to watch if I like.
Yep. Yeah. No, the skit. It was entirely too much, like too long. Because again, like I said, if you're waiting for the premiere, you've been waiting a little bit early, and you've waited through the 2-minute countdown, so you're literally up to sitting here for 6 minutes at this point with a confused feeling
on that. So that was our breakdown.
Wow.
We tried to I hope that the things, we're poking a bit of fun, having fun. I hope that those views are justifiable. And if you don't think, and that's totally fine. If you don't agree, my hope is that you don't agree at an artistic level.
Yeah.
That you're like, look, Lewis, I actually think that joke was okay, or I think those graphics were actually okay to my eye. Right on. I can appreciate that maybe you like those graphics or something. I was trying to point out some parts that we think academically just don't work, and if there's something we're missing, and it says if we're missing it, who else is missing it? Like, it took us a long time to work out infidelity.
Well, and there's a difference between attempting to be funny for the sake of growing attention to me, and then marketing either your brand or a new product that you're launching. And that's what you kind of thrown in. Because I was just thinking, I know that like on this show, we say things and we make jokes and we have colorful adult language, obviously, from time to time. But if I'm coming out with like an official drop that I'm trying to appeal to a wider audience, I want this to be watched by people and them go, oh, I can't really show this to my kid, right? Because some of them don't want their kids to be. And I'm not saying that, oh, well, you shouldn't be that close-minded on your kids. I'm not talking about me. I don't care. I'm saying that this is, from a marketing perspective, it's not how do we alienate 3/4 of the audience and grab this small piece. It's always trying to get as many reactions as possible, like with a focus group or things like that. It's
right. Is it now? You might say that, Steve, to be devil's advocate here, if they hadn't produced such a wacky video, we might not have talked about it. Maybe
you're exactly
is any
right.
Publicity, good publicity in this instance.
That's the flip side of all this, is that us all talking about this is another form of publicity for the company. So there's not really a wrong answer here. And I think that's a great point, and we can definitely leave that kind of open-ended for anybody in the comments who may feel like that's the situation, where it's like the old adage of just having your name in the paper is better than having nobody talk about you at all. Absolutely true. We're giving them an hour of free breakdown, again, of a focused marketing group that people would have to pay thousands for, and we've done it for free. And not only that, giving them all the praise for their products, so it shouldn't really impact their nobody's going to go, oh, look what Lewis and Steve said, we're never buying from PixelFX. I really wanted this amazing performing fair valued product, but since these guys said their marketing was shite on one commercial, that we're nobody's saying that. We're
nobody should.
And
if
nobody
are,
should
please
say
don't.
that because that's not the right.
Please
That's
don't take our
not.
views
Yeah,
like
that's. We just wanted to give our personal opinions of how this marketing. Because again, it's just something so odd that at the same time it is interesting that you can get plenty of people to actually think about it and talk about it and tell other people to watch it.
Right.
It's
So
like
maybe,
it's
but having said
Ozzy.
Yep.
Ozzy was biting the head off the bat bad for him. In the long run, probably not. He gets to like make commercial. What was it? I was here's something. It's talking about not letting your kids see stuff that cusses. I was sitting down with my 7-year-old daughter, and we were watching. She wanted to watch something, and she's like coloring, and I put on Little Nicky. Right?
What's Little Nicky?
It's the Adam Sandler movie where he plays the goofy ass son of the devil, and he's got like the a speech impediment, and I mean I'm watching that with her, and it's just hilarious seeing her like perspective of all this. So.
Now, if there, however, we'll keep twisting it.
But
then.
the Aussie thing.
Sorry, the Little Nicky.
The Aussie,
Aussie.
because I was like,
Ozzy
where was I?
Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy made money because at the end of that movie, the guy who's the bad guy, the bad brother of Little Nicky, turns into a bat, and Little Nicky pulls out this like glowing Lord of the Rings orb, throws it on the ground, and Ozzy Osbourne pops out, grabs the bad brother as the bat and bites his head off, and that's how he beats the brother. So there's like, was that actual incident when it was live and everybody thought Ozzy was crazy? Who is this madman who just bit the head off a bat? He was able to turn that into more and more money for 30-40 years of his life. So is it a bad thing?
So that's something.
No.
You're right. So that's 40 years old. That's a cultural. Everyone, like I live with people from Eastern Europe. They know who Ozzy Osbourne bites. Bats, right? Everyone in the developed world knows this. So fair enough. I think we need to be extremely calibrated about our stunts. And it's not just to say, I'll do any wacky stuff to get a reaction. Now, maybe time will prove us wrong. Maybe time will vilify the amazing introvert alt comedy of this sketch. And we'll have egg on our faces later as pundits who came in too quick. Maybe. What I can see right now, 4 days after it's been released, PixelFX have 781 subscribers, and it has roughly 7,500 views. 7,500 views. If they had taken the alternate advice, which be just give it to Tito from Macho Nacho, and even if you have to give him the money that they would have given to the video guy who made this, like whoever was doing those graphics, give that money to Tito instead, send him the products, say, hey, Tito, why don't you make that? They would have 200,000 views over a couple weeks.
I mean, exactly. There are videos that he produces that are on like the M.2 loader for the GameCube that has almost 700,000 views on it.
And you can't buy that product.
That's what I mean. And it's like, I'm looking at stuff. He markets things in a way himself that it's rare to see a video not get over like 150,000 views.
Right.
It's just like,
he would have told us about it. He would have been
unbelievable.
Direct.
Yeah.
Use that money. Where's Tito? Tito's in the United States somewhere. Go visit Tito.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's
him.
real close. He's actually I'll see him
Talk.
at the Retro World Expo.
Yeah.
He's
if you want to get your product in there, you want to be the face of it. Also, right on.
He's based. Yeah, I mean, there's a perfect example. He's not an impossible guy to get on or get in touch with. It's to me, I was like, wow, you could have done that, and my goodness, I just from an effectiveness of just the reach.
Sure.
It would have been 50 times further. And, yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't know. The question is, and it's not, this is obviously not ours to answer, is like, what is, we'll probably never get this answer. And it's not even barely fair for me to bring this up because somebody will probably bother them. But it's like, what is Digital Foundry's perspective of all this? I feel like they're the ones that are in most right to be to have their opinions on this matter way better than us. Like, that's the thing. It's like we're all on the same level where we can critique this on the same kind of level. But I would never I would feel like a complete hypocrite idiot if every week we just got on our podcast and we're like critical of not only everybody, but just like people that were much bigger than us. And it was just like, that's all we felt like we were doing, is just trying to kind of pick off. It's like trying to pick off the bootstraps of other people almost. Let me get on your bootstraps. Cling.
And that's the thing. They don't have to. They have a good product.
And they know plenty of people in this community. Like, I know we've all been around each other.
They're great products. They're respected. They are already respected technical guys in our community. They don't need to pull a trick to get our attention. Citrus already has our attention. He's so great with so many good products that have already been released. I just want to hear you tell me about your new awesome product that you've made and then take my money.
Yeah, I think they'll do fine. I think this won't be any problem for them at all. I think it's just an interesting thing to look at in this world of, as Lewis explained, his honest experience working in comedy, and then my honest experience working in marketing. And a lot of times those do blend and mesh really well. But it's either, like you said, the funny commercials that people talk about being funny are usually from established funny brands. Right. Like, you're expecting a lot of the Geico commercials in the United States for their insurance. You're expecting jokes, right? You're not expecting them to come on and tell you about great coverage benefits and real serious about how they're going to take care of you as a customer. You're not expecting that. And I think that there was just this, like, now do we go forward and do we expect this kind of a marketing approach on everything? It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what that has, if this has any impact on that. But otherwise, I felt like it was just a fun opportunity for us to analyze something without, like, attacking somebody and being kind of harsh, critical on something, as a perspective of it being just a single marketing event, kind of.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, why don't we wrap it up soon, Steve?
That'd be
now,
great.
for our next episode, maybe in our next episode, I think we're going to revisit the Chinese CRT issue. I've looked at my Discord. I've got about 20 messages waiting from Retro Castle, because I asked him, hey, we both agree that I probably can't import these into the EU, but you, sir, can. And you expressed that if there was a reasonable amount of money, and Ivory said, but hey, these TVs are shit, right? And I said, yeah, we know, but if Steve makes a video, then everyone's going to watch it, and therefore that's our business proposition. It's worthwhile for you to spend even $100, $200 to get these TVs.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to watch the video where Steve gets the new CRT from China. It's entertainment. It's good. So he was like, oh, okay, and looks like he might try to help us. So I'm on the case.
It's going to be interesting to see what they say about shipping too.
Right.
I do live on 3 hours from a drive from like Harbors, I believe, where
You're going to take it from some guy at the dock?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to drive it there, and I'm going to go, where's my CRTs and all these stacks? I'm not paying a truck driver to drive it from there to my house, hopefully, because then that's another
beanie
$200.
with a cigarette hanging out. You want the monitor?
I came for those CRTs. What? You sure there's not
right,
drugs
everyone.
in these things?
No, just bad quality
Yeah.
composites.
All right, everybody.
All right, let's do it. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate that. I'm going to stop the recording. Steve, stay on the line for a second. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.